We're holding on.
Okay, thanks for joining us today, council members. This is a special emergency tribal council meeting because we've adopted emergency procedures for conducting tribal council meetings. We have a couple members on the phone, which is necessary to have a quorum. We have 5 present in the auditorium here today. We've got primarily one agenda item to move forward. And so I would like to convene this special emergency tribal council meeting of Friday, June 5th, 2020. And I have 1:13 p.m. Quorum count. A roll call.
Don Gentry.
Here.
Gail Hatcher. Here. Roberta Frost. Here. Brandy Hatcher.
Here.
Clay Dumont.
Here.
Willa Palace. Ellsworth Lang. Jesse Hikokta.
Here.
Rose Treetop. Jeannie McNair.
Okay, we have a quorum according to our emergency tribal council meeting policies. We have 2 members on the phone. Before we move forward, Brandy, could you do an invocation for us over the phone, please?
I'll defer that to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Nat lampatisa blydokni mo sepketcha whitus ditch. One from above, our Father, thank you for this good day today. Creator, I pray you guide us and lead us to make the appropriate decisions that would provide the best benefits and help to our members in this time of crisis, and just lead us and guide us as we review this policy and take care of business today. Creator, be with all of our people, those that have lost loved ones and those that are affected by the disease and those that are suffering because of all the impacts related to this. I just pray the covering and blessing, and pray that we can provide the assistance that we can as quickly as possible, Creator. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for all the hard work of our staff and our attorneys and fellow council members to get to this point. Just see us through this, Creator. I ask this in Creator's Son, Jesus' name. Chetsmot. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is a special meeting, so we have 2 agenda items today. The main thing that we're addressing, and I felt it's important for our people to know, because we know that individuals are really interested in receiving assistance, COVID relief payment. Just to let folks know, we're still in the process of trying to figure out how to facilitate that in a good way. That's little risk to having to pay the funds back if we were to do that. And we're working through that process and everything entailed around that so we can move forward and do that in a helpful way. The agenda item today that we're addressing it's the Direct Client Assistance Program that we're developing our approving policy for administration. And this is the Coronavirus Emergency Assistance Program Policy and Procedure. So we're going to review that and approve that today, and so we can provide the assistance to our members that apply. And I'm really encouraged that if you apply, you will receive assistance. It's open to all of our members. You just need to apply. The levels we have a matrix, and there's a program in place to provide that assistance. So I'm encouraging everyone to apply for that Direct Clients Assistance Program, and you will receive assistance. You'll receive assistance in even filling out the application, and so we can move forward with that. So this isn't the COVID relief payment program, and that's not what the application's about. It's to receive the assistance according to the policy that we're going to address today and review and approve. So I wanted to make sure that that's clear. And also, I felt it's appropriate, and we talked about it briefly, some of our council members before we get going. We appreciate our tribal members and, being minorities, and just the support for the Black Lives Matter movement, and appreciate folks going down there and protesting and on behalf of the on behalf of minority people around the nation, which we were included. And we are aware that there were some difficult things that have been communicated and something that's taken place that's really difficult for us to work through as a community. We feel so marginalized, and we're concerned about things escalating, and we're communicating with the Department of Justice and others and local enforcement to figure out how we can provide a better community message. Rather than marginalize the racist incidents that occurred, we need to draw attention to that and not just say that because property wasn't destroyed and people weren't harmed, that it's okay. It's not okay what happened. So just wanted to share that, and we stand in solidarity with those that are protesting around the nation. Of course, we don't support the violent acts and the destruction. We think that's contrary to what the intentions of those that are standing up for Black Lives Matter. So just wanted to offer that also, so thank you. So at this time, we have the Coronavirus Emergency Assistance Program Policy and Procedure, and I really appreciate all the council members for being involved. I know Clay had a real significant role in helping us walk through this after the application went out, and I really appreciate Kathy Rich for all the hard work that she's done, Kathy, to help us get to this point. And I think we're coming to a place where we can move forward and provide the assistances needed through this program, and that's specifically the Direct Client Assistance Program. So, you know, I know that council members have had a chance to look at this, even despite all the other meetings and things that are going on. But I'm trying to figure out the most comfortable way to walk through this, knowing that our members are listening in also.
Kathy was going to read some of them.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, Kathy, maybe that's a good way if you could summarize and read the policy to us. Oh, you have the microphone in hand, great. So I'll turn it over to you, Kathy, to help us walk through this and answer questions and so we can move forward. Thank you.
Do you want it in its entirety to be read?
You know,
Summarize some sections? Okay, summarize some sections.
Yeah, maybe just the most important ones that we know people are waiting to hear.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, Tribal Council.
I don't think the microphone's on, or if it is, it's not loud enough.
Okay, good morning. Can I take it off?
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
do both.
You're 6 feet
I
away from
can't.
me.
Just don't cough on us.
Good afternoon, Tribal Council. My name is Kathy Rich, the Administrative Officer for Tribal Administration. And I just want to thank Tribal Council, too, for developing a program that's going to benefit the tribal members during this pandemic of this COVID-19 virus. And as the chairman stated, the policy has been developed, and Tribal Council put a lot of time and effort into refining it to capture the intent and the purpose of what this program is all about. So today I'm here to present the Klamath Tribes Administration Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES PL 116-136 Title 5, the Coronavirus Relief Funds, Coronavirus COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Program Policy and Procedures. And a lot of this lengthy terminology is pulled from the CARES Act guidelines, the law. So first of all, we'll go through the background. It says the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, signed into law on March 27th, 2020, created the Coronavirus Relief Fund. The CARES Act stipulates $8 billion is set aside for tribal governments. Reference Section 5001, Title 5 of the CARES Act, PL 116-136. The purpose of this policy is to use all or a portion of its CARES allocation to fund the Coronavirus Emergency Assistance Program, to provide financial assistance to Klamath tribal households worldwide for necessary expenditures with respect to the COVID-19 outbreak. Per the law of the use of the funds, number one, it is necessary that expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease 2019 COVID-19. Two, that they were not accounted for in the budget most recently approved as of the date of enactment of this section for the state or government. And three, were incurred during the period that begins on March 1st, 2020 and ends on December 30th, 2020. And again, that's pulled from the act itself. Next in the section, it goes through the definitions and explanations of the policy. That is Section 4. Section 5 is identifies the program staff that we have identified staff to implement this program, a total of 3, so that we can implement in a timely manner and get that out to meet the needs of the tribal people. Number 5, program eligibility. I'm going to read this in its entirety. To be eligible for assistance through the Klamath Tribes Coronavirus COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Program, the following criteria must be met. 1, applicant must be a Klamath Tribal member or an applicant with blood-related children who are Klamath Tribal members, or an applicant with other household dependents who are enrolled members of the Klamath Tribes. Assistance payments are exclusively for enrolled members of the Klamath Tribes. Number 2, households, family units have a residence or dwell within a residence capped by another family unit or are considered homeless. And 3, applicant stipulates that funds will be used for households, family units, necessary expenditures. And 4, applicant demonstrates as much as possible within the realm of what is administratively feasible that necessary expenditures are related to the COVID-19 outbreak, COVID-19 disease, or COVID-19 public health emergency. 5, expenses are or were incurred between March 1st and December 30th, 2020. And 6, household has not exceeded the maximum assistance allowable on the date of enactment of this document by a vote of the tribal council or a different maximum amount specified by a future vote of tribal council. 6, the application process. Application access and acknowledgement of receipt. Program application will be mailed to all Klamath Tribal members at least 18 years of age worldwide. Program application will be available at on the Klamath Tribes Administration website. C, program application will be available at all tribal buildings, entities, and offices. D, program application will be sent out electronically from the Klamath Tribes Administration's Public News and Information Department. E, program staff will provide requested applications per method requested by inquiring adults, for example, postal, mail, email, or fax. F, all Emergency Relief Fund program applications received by Klamath Tribes program staff will be retained and date stamped. G, all received applications containing sufficient information to access emergency funds will be acknowledged in writing via U.S. mail. H, applicants with applications lacking sufficient information to access emergency funds will be contacted by program staff via telephone. I, assistance with obtaining and or filling out applications and answers to inquiries about the status of an application will be available at 541-783-2219, extension 200. 7, emergency program staff will annotate, stamp, and copy the applications of tribal members declaring a need for technology to allow participation in tribal government and to otherwise exercise their tribal citizenship and or for completion of their formal education. These annotated, stamped copies of applications will be forwarded to the Klamath Tribes Education and Employment Department for additional processing. Technology purchases necessary to facilitate exercise of tribal citizenship and for completion of formal education and made necessary by the COVID-19 emergency will be funded separately and in addition to the necessary expenditures described at section 3.12. A, eligible individuals. Individuals eligible for emergency created technology funds include tribal elders. These are citizens who are indispensable to the functioning of our government and other tribal institutions. Higher education and K through 12 students, to the extent reasonable student status should be documented. And households lacking sufficient technology to participate in general council meetings, to access tribal council meetings, or to participate remotely in other tribal institutions necessary for responsible exercise of tribal citizenship. Section 8, benefit determination. The emergency program staff will track heads of households and all members of households. Financial assistance will be provided to eligible households as defined below. 1, applicants who have contracted COVID-19 or who reside within a residence shared by someone who has contracted COVID-19 will receive a payment of $2,500. The applicant must provide documentation confirming the positive test for the virus. 2, Other eligible applicants will receive a payment of $1,500. 3, additional tribal members within a household. Households will receive an additional $500 for dependent tribal members living within the household. For example, an applicant who is a tribal member and who has a spouse or partner and 2 children, each of whom are tribal members, will receive a payment of $3,000. Similarly, if an applicant is a non-tribal member who has a dependent tribal members in his or her household, the applicant will receive $1,500 for the first dependent and $500 for each additional dependent tribal member. 4, benefits for technology will be determined separately. Benefit 9, benefit payment. Assistance will be provided in accordance with the Klamath Tribe's standard practices and procedures and the Klamath Tribe's procurement policy. Assistance will be given to households via direct client assistance payment. The applicant will receive a check made payable to them to address necessary expenditures to prevent, respond to, or mitigate for COVID-19. It is the responsibility of the applicant to purchase, procure, or submit payment to appropriate entities. 1, the benefit must be made available to any tribal member who satisfies the program guidelines subject to budgetary constraints. 2, the distribution of benefits from the program does not discriminate in favor of members of the tribe's governing body. 3, the benefit is not compensation for services. 4, the benefit is not lavish or extravagant under the facts and circumstances. 10, applicant accountability. The emergency program assumes the applicant has provided true, accurate, and honest information within the program application. As documented through the applicant's signature on the program application, the applicant authorizes the terms of the release of information, disclaimer section. The Klamath Tribe shall be held harmless for any misuse of funds if the applicant provided false information. And then through the next section we have where we're going to retain the applicant files, we're going to document, and we're going to organize. We're going to process them in batch form in a tickler system. We're going to verify that they're complete, eligible, and then we're going to process them for payment. Again, we'll verbally be calling if we need additional information and reaching out, and then also it's not in the policy, but the intake specialist will also be at that time making referrals to those that possibly may be eligible for other tribal programs. 3, bi-weekly updates to Tribal Council. Tribal Council will receive updates at each of the regularly scheduled meetings or upon request of the chairman or vice chairman of the Klamath Tribes. Updates will include, but not be limited to, statistical presentations of applications received, numbers of applications with pending, ready for batch, complete, eligible, and payment sent, and complete and ineligible statuses, detailed explanations for reasons for determination of each, complete and ineligible decision with applicants' names and other identifying information redacted for privacy. Tribal Council may overturn a decision of ineligibility by majority vote, concur by majority vote with the decision that an application is ineligible, or give instruction to the emergency program supervisor on how to overcome a decision of ineligibility. For storage and retention, files will be retained in accordance with the Klamath Tribe's records retention schedule.
Yes, Clay?
So, Kathy, I'm not sure if in the definitions we got to number 10 and 11. Did you read those? No. Okay.
I didn't read the definitions.
Okay, we want to read maybe at least 10 and 11?
Will do. So under the definitions section, it covers definitions such as adult, applicant, assistance payment, head of household, homeless, household, income, Klamath tribal member, Klamath tribal elder, and then number 10, COVID-19 positive households. Households with members that have tested positive for the virus, as well as households that reside within a residence where a member of another cohabitating household has tested positive for the virus, will be given first priority regardless of date of application receipt. Number 11, initial low-income priority. For the first 10 days of assistance payment dispersals, low-income households not greater than 60% of the Oregon median income level by family unit will be next in priority. After 10 days from the date of the first assistance payment dispersals to low-income applicants, applications will be prioritized by date of receipt. First received will be first processed.
And then, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Number 12, too.
Okay. Necessary expenditure shall be defined as rent, mortgage payments, hotel lodging fees, utility heat costs, food, cleaning and sanitation supplies, household toiletries, personal protective equipment, hygiene products, costs for medication, wear and tear to vehicle as a result of increased household transit, and other emergency individual needs.
So I want to make sure that people watching are aware of what all this means, right? If you listen to what Kathy read in that last definition of the things that are eligible under the Act, one of them is food, right? Anybody who eats is paying higher costs for food right now. That means every tribal member is eligible, okay? It is important also that when we're talking about how these payments will go out, to understand what we mean by a household. We realize that sometimes we have multiple families living in a home, or we have a family with a roommate living in a home. Under these definitions, you can have multiple households within a residence, okay? So let's say that I have a grandmother taking care of 2 grandkids, and there's a roommate. Those are 2 households. Both of them are eligible for the $1,500 payment. The grandmother would be eligible for the $1,500 plus $500 for each of the dependent children, provided they are Klamath Tribal members. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. Although this is not a general disbursement, and we haven't given up on that yet, I think Willa may report a little bit on that later, every tribal member should be eligible for these funds. Now, I know there's a lot of confusion about the low income threshold. That is only going to be an issue for the first 10 days. So once we start sending out checks, those who fall below 60% of the state median income will be the first processed. After the first 10 days, it will be in order of receipt of the applications. So I just want to make sure that everybody understood what was going on. Not only food, but there is some language also in the necessary expenditures at the end, and this comes directly out of the Act, that says, and other emergency individual needs. Okay, so whatever those are, you will get help recording them if you don't have them on your application, but you should go ahead and put them on your application.
Because we feel that all tribal people have been affected due to the increased cost in food, the increased cost of utilities, with having to stay home, isolate in, and children being home, increased cost of personal hygiene items, increased cost in cleaning supplies also.
This is Jesse, could I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, so I just appreciated Clay in elaborating a little bit more for maybe some of the tribal membership who is watching. And just add to that, and it's there on number 10, that COVID-19 positive household. You know, those are going to come first when it comes to look at these applications. So I just want to remind our membership exactly why we have this assistance program, which is the current pandemic, and that those who are directly affected with COVID-19 are going to end up taking precedence. So to remind people to have patience, that they may have submitted their application and they may continue to want to know where it's at, which is perfectly fine. But we have had tribal members who have had COVID-19 in the community, but then also outside of the area. So I just want to remind tribal members to be patient that we're doing this because we realize that individuals can be affected and become sick, but we also understand all of the other things that are taking place in communities, that there are trickle effects. And that's where the other line items come into play.
Thank you, Jesse. Member Dumont?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify one more thing that I'm seeing on the live chat. There is no additional application. The application that you have received is the one that we're going to use. If you haven't received one, right, then call the number. See if I can find the number one more time.
783-2219, extension 200.
It's
783, or 541-783-2219, extension 200. And also, if you just call the front desk at 0, she will transfer you to the appropriate staff people.
And they'll get it to you any way that you'd prefer. They can
Yes,
fax it,
correct.
they can mail it, they can email it. It's also on the website.
I see Bucky in the back. If you don't have a microphone, I'll repeat your question, if that's a help.
There's no microphone.
My question is, I'm the one we take care of, I only have, like, SSI, so do I just make the application with a web? Just apply for myself?
Yes, if you're an individual, you're asked, if you just apply for yourself, just follow through, then we'll process the application. Yeah, you're the only tribal member, so basically you're a household. Yes. Member Palace?
Kathy, I was just going to see if you could explain. I did get a couple of questions through email from tribal members wanting to know the process for helping our incarcerated tribal members and also homeless tribal members, and to clarify that they are eligible.
Yes, they are eligible. In fact, we mailed applications out to one institute already, a packet. A tribal member had called and requested, and then we just put a bunch in there, copies so that they can share. Starting Monday, we'll be staffed with 3 people to start beginning the process, and one of them will be designated to reach out to all the institutes and make copies, or get copies sent to them. So we are working on that.
Member Dumont?
Willa, may I comment on that, please, on the prisoners?
Yes, George, go ahead, then we'll go to Clay.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that that's going to be an excellent idea. I would want, and maybe whether Jeannie or Ms. Vice Chair or whoever on council has the best connections with the Department of Corrections, you may recall that there was a concern that the incarcerated adults were being charged an administrative fee for any money that was sent to them, a pretty hefty administrative fee, like 25% or something, 30%. I want to make sure that if and when they receive this money, they don't get docked on administrative fee. I don't know how we could clarify that.
That's good to know, George, and I would be pretty upset if that were happening, if our tribal members were seeking this assistance and getting docked an amount.
Yeah, if that's an issue, if that becomes an issue, we'll talk to the governor. We have routine calls with the governor's office and raised a number of issues around that. So if that becomes an issue, we'll talk directly with the governor's office about that and make sure we can do what we can to
Excellent
protect that
idea,
member.
Chairman. I will do some research in the interim. I know we have a conference call with the governor next Friday. I will
Yes.
do research and try to formulate the proper question.
Great, I appreciate that.
And I know the 2 that we had spoke to, that was a concern, so they were going to have power of attorneys drawn up so that they would be able to get that for them. So that is on their minds.
Yeah, so, well, Member Dumont, then we'll go to Vice Chair.
Okay, so I was going to read a question. Joe Cook, so if I'm over the 60% threshold, he's talking about the Oregon State median income, by $400, am I and my wife eligible for the $1,500 for food because I get enough for my mortgage and general bills? But I was just curious. So yes, you are eligible for $1,500 and an additional $500 for your wife, or vice versa. She could go 1,500 and you could go 500. The only difference here with the 60%.
If they're tribal.
If they're tribal, yes, thank you. The only issue for the 60% is that for the first 10 days after we begin sending checks, we're going to prioritize those that are below the 60% threshold. And Kimberly McNair's asked a related question. When does the 10 days start? It should start as soon as we pass this policy and they begin passing out or handing out mailing checks next week.
Yes.
Well, again, I just want to reiterate patience because we have probably over 300. And the program is new and we're getting all our internal controls in place on Monday when the staff come on board, meaning intake forms, participant file forms, and so clarifying the expectations of the intake workers and reviewing the policy. So I would just being right up front, there's going to be 2 days of orientating the new staff of what the expectations are of the policy. But we have had an intake specialist on board who has been prioritizing those, getting them date stamped, getting them prepped. So we envision that it's not going to take us long at all. And then we do have an internal financial system set up to where we tested it yesterday and there was no flaws and it was easy to, from start to end, get that check out in less than an hour. So that was with testing. So we're ready to go. And just to give us a couple days and know that there's hundreds of applications. And then as we get to them, we're just going to be processing.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
This has taken us back to the incarcerated individuals. I think that we should try to speak with the governor before there's an issue. I don't think we should wait until there is one. The sooner we speak with her or anybody else, I think the better.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a direct line for her legal advisor, Dustin Bueller, who accommodates those calls, and I'll give him a heads up that we're concerned about that, if other tribes haven't already brought that to his attention already. So I'll follow through with that immediately after this afternoon to let him know that that is a significant concern. So, Member Palace?
Um,
Then we'll get to you, Jesse, after that.
Kathy, there was a question, a clarification on COVID-19 positive families, and then if they live in a hot area. And this is my allergies. I don't know why my allergies are acting up today while we're on live.
You mean they want to know where that family is
They
in?
want to know if they live in a hot zone, if they would get more, but maybe explain how.
Oh, not the ones we have on file, but if that family lived in a hot zone. So the policy clearly states that, because we've had questions on this, that you have to have, on what number is that?
19, the positive test.
19 on the COVID. Households with members that have tested positive for the virus, as well as households that reside within a residence where a member of another cohabitating household has tested positive for the virus, will be given first priority regardless of date of application. So the questions too that so you have to have proof that you have had COVID yourself or your household has for that payment. Now, we had questions asked of us if they were just exposed. Can they, qualify for something different? And we said, no, it clearly says you have to have COVID and you have to prove it because everyone would probably be exposed.
I have a question. I'm not. Oh, go ahead, Jesse. I remember you're in line here. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, and it's in the same line of the COVID-19 positive household, and going back to what Kathy had stated, that's about 300 applications, that I would want to encourage tribal members who have the virus to maybe call in as opposed to mailing in an application, because we want to know how we want to get some assistance right away. And going through all of these applications, we wouldn't we might stumble upon it, you know, in the ninth day when we could have helped them tomorrow. So I think that's just really important for our tribal membership to know. And just as was stated, if there needs to be verification.
So I assume, though it's not clearly described in here, but if a family doesn't test positive and they're provided assistance as indicated, but later test positive, they would still have the opportunity to receive assistance up to the amount for the COVID-affected families. Is that correct?
I think it says one time, doesn't it? Did that get taken out?
No, it did. What he's saying is if someone gets a $1,500 payment now
Yeah.
and then test positive later, would they still be able to get 1,000 more because they would be then at COVID positive?
I think that was
And-
taken out, wasn't it? I don't,
Yeah, it's not directly addressed in the policy.
yeah.
But we could talk about it. I would say yes, but I don't want people to go out and try
Yeah.
to get positive,
So that's
please.
not in the policy
Don't
at
do
this
that.
time.
So one of the things I thought would be helpful to describe, we know that we're encouraging all of our members to apply because we know that everyone has been affected. And there was a lot of concern about how cumbersome the application is. I know we're providing assistance over the phone, and if you could explain that process, Kathy, a little bit, just to help our folks know that despite the cumbersome application, we're going to provide the assistance and do what we can to make sure that our members are served to meet their need. If you could explain that a little bit, that might be a help. Yeah, and if they need
Yes.
help filling it out.
And we have had those requests the last 2 weeks, and we have been helping them fill those out. Any questions that they have regarding a specific section, we've been answering that for them. We've been remailing applications out to those that might have messed up on them. We are providing outreach and dropping off applications to areas in large quantities. And then we also have a drop box on the outside, since we are not opening until, I believe, next Monday to the public, but then we are also going to be opening the doors if someone does show up. But if they come after work hours, we do have a drop box at the front of tribal administration that they can place their applications in. And as we're doing the outreach and dropping off stacks to different areas, we're also telling them that they can fill the application out. If they need help with the application, come see us, and then to drop off those applications in the front of the tribal administration office.
Yes. Then,
And does that answer the question? And then if they need help filling it out, if we need to walk out and then help them physically, we can fill it all out and then they can sign it.
okay. One more related question. What folks need to, I mean, they have to be a tribal member, but we do know some members don't have updated addresses, ID cards. Maybe they need some assistance acquiring that. And so obviously they need to prove that they're a tribal member or verify that, and that'd be verified.
And that's
What
all
are-
internal.
and
So if they don't provide that for us, our intake specialist has access internally to obtain the social security number and the tribal ID, and that's what we're doing. In fact, with the new internal process to upload data and transfer to finance to generate the checks, it's already in there. We just have to double check and make sure that we have the correct address that they provided on this specific address.
Okay.
And so then we input that.
Okay, and one other additional question. What do they actually need to provide? I mean, they need to fill out the application, but are there other, what other information do they need to provide? Receipts or statements or bills? That's my understanding that's not the case. Could you clarify
The
that?
income, other income.
Oh, other
Their income, as they are qualifying for the 60%. So all those that we've received up to this point to comply with the 60% median income have provided their wage stubs, or they provided documentation that they have no income. And how they've obtained that too is some have just provided the letter from the unemployment office stating that they've applied.
Okay, thank you. Member Dumont?
Yeah, so from a previous meeting, we had received a request from a tribal member to make it possible to do some copying of documents up in the front So we're going to do that as well. If folks are local and they don't have access to a copy machine, we're going to get that set up by the time we open, hopefully, or shortly thereafter, so that folks can copy documents. Got a question from Deborah Lopez. Are they going to take off money if we applied for the IHS payment and the COVID-19
No.
PGE pay?
No.
I never got the stimulus, and the answer is no. This is completely separate, so don't worry about that.
Yes, and I know if it was concerned, I think it says pretty clearly in the policy, folks that live outside Klamath County are identified service area. These applications are sent out worldwide
Yes.
to all tribal members, and they have, if you're a tribal member, even if you live outside the immediate service area, you meet that qualification.
Correct.
Yes, Member Dumont?
So one thing we haven't talked too much yet about is a section on remote access for exercising tribal citizenship and for formal education. So if you are in school, K through 12, you have kids in school, or if you're a university or a higher ed student, and you need technology in order to further your education, you need to put that on your application, and this the help with that would be in addition, right, to the funds that we've already talked about. If you are an elder or a tribal member who does not have access to technology that allows you to watch this meeting right now, or to watch, for example, the general council meeting that we had a week ago, you are eligible for these funds to help you acquire that technology. So, and again, this is in addition to the funding that we've
Yes.
already talked about.
And there's a team that's been assembled to focus solely on that. And as the intake workers process the direct client assistance for the emergency program, we are also making a copy of the application and forwarding it to the director.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to be conducted by the Vice Chair. I'm going to testify before the State Housing and Urban Development Committee on housing needs of tribal members, and I provided some opportunity to do that teleconference. So I'll turn it over to her. We still have a quorum and can conduct business. So.
Okay, Kathy, I know you spoke on the proof of income, and you may have said it, but I might have missed it. What if an individual is homeless and does not have any type of income? How do they show proof?
We've been telling them just say no income. And early on, that was confirmed, and I believe it was through an email through the council or general manager, that the waiver of going to the employment office to get a wage printout was waived, because we also shared that with the auditors, that although normally that's how we would obtain proof of no income, we felt that requesting our tribal members to go into an area that had heavy traffic during this time was going against the whole isolate in and protecting them. So that's documentation will be in our main file for the program. So when anyone reviews it, or we have any type of program reviews, that is going to be in there to show. That's why we're not requiring no documentation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Are there some questions coming up on the chat?
Yeah, go ahead, Will. You want to do that?
Go ahead.
There was a question about if we have a General Welfare Act. We currently do not have one. We are looking at adopting a General Welfare Ordinance and a couple of other things that may be on the agenda for our upcoming meeting on Wednesday.
There's a question about child support, whether it's going to be withheld from this.
No.
Okay, any other questions that we need to address?
Folks are asking if they're over the income limit, if they still need to supply documentation of their income.
No. because we're not checking for that after the 10 days. That only puts you into the queue for priority.
Okay, so, oh, I'm sorry, Bucky?
I know Tribal Council has expressed that they want to set aside some dollars for that, so they will be working on that. If there was any burial assistance for out of county or for anybody that contracts COVID-19.
Yeah, so we've talked about that. It's not in this policy, but we're not going to ask people to pay for their own burials if somebody dies from the virus, certainly.
Okay, if there's no other questions, do we want to take action on this?
There's one question from Joe Cook about if SSI or VA will be deducted from the program?
No.
Okay.
There will be no deductions.
Clay?
So Kimberly McNair says, what if someone is not a tribal member in household? Do you add them? No, they have to be a tribal member. This is exclusively for tribal members.
Okay, I guess one last question. We've said everybody apply. Okay, so, but we talk households, household, husband and wife, both tribal members, do they apply as one or each adult separately? And one claiming the children?
So that would be one
I
household.
think
That would be
husband and
one
wife
household.
apply together.
Yeah.
Okay, no other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Gail, this is Brandy.
Yes, Brandy?
There was a question I read on here in the chat that asked is child support going to be withheld?
Nothing's going to be withheld from these
Okay,
direct
thank you.
client assistance payments.
And Ms. Vice Chair, your question about a couple applying, you broke up on the answer. Could you repeat the answer to your question, Ms. Vice Chair?
The answer is that is considered one household. So a married, both tribal members with children, one would apply.
So
And we have had that question, and that's what we've been sharing with people. You're one household, so you can't do it.
So maybe we
Separate.
can go over that again, because it's a little bit complicated, right? You can have multiple households within one residence. Say you have two families living under the same roof. You could have two applicants then, each of which would be eligible for $1,500, and then the dependents of each of those applicants. So if both have a spouse and two kids, they would each be eligible for another $1,500, $500 for the spouse and $500 for each of the kids.
Correct.
Okay? So, and if you have a roommate, right, who keeps his or her expenses separately, that roommate is a separate household.
Correct. And if you have adult children that are living in your household over 18, those are individual households.
Okay, do we have any more questions or anything else that needs to be clarified?
I just wanted to.
Could we just clarify really quick, we're not encouraging a husband and a wife to apply for this emergency assistance separately,
That's not what we
right?
said.
No, that's
No.
not what we're doing.
Okay.
Go ahead, Clay.
So I wanted to say thank you to the staff, to Kathy in particular, and to Ariel Harrington, who's, I know, worked very hard on this. I also wanted to thank tribal members, those of you who were very patient with us. This has been a difficult process. When we told you that the Treasury guidelines were complicated and convoluted, we weren't lying, but I'm confident that we are safe in what we're doing here. And so we look forward to getting help out to people.
Thank you for your time and your effort and working on this too.
Yeah, this has been a lot of
Can I
work.
make a
It's
A lot of
comment now?
bumping heads, but I think we made it, and it's going to be the best for our people.
And hopefully we don't have to go through this again. We'll
know.
have all the bugs worked out. We don't want another emergency, but now we have a better idea of what we're doing and how to go about it. So
Exactly.
it has been a big task, and I'm too really appreciative of all that have put their hard work into this. So thank you.
It's not just me. I mean, we have staff that we've called upon to assist. You've identified Ariel, but there's a lot of other staff that we're pulling in for their expertise and their guidance. So it takes all of us to come up with a good program, including tribal council. So
Was there comments from the telephone?
Yeah, this is Brandy. I just wanted to thank the staff and the council and the general council, tribal membership. If you weren't on the meeting Saturday, tribal council and the staff are really concerned and want to make sure that all of our tribal members are taken care of. And the guidelines were so strict and changed every day, but we're all feeling comfortable that this is the best thing to do for all of our tribal members. So we want you all to be safe. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the telephone?
No.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the Coronavirus Emergency Assistance, is that what we're calling it? Assistance Program Policy and Procedures. Okay, a motion by Willa and a second by Clay. Let me see. Do we want to do voice?
Yeah, with Brandy and Jesse.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 So that was both Brandy and Jesse?
Yeah, Jesse in favor.
Okay.
Okay,
Brandy in favor.
okay, all those in.
Ellsworth in favor.
Oh, Ellsworth,
Oh.
you're there?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've been on for quite some time.
Okay,
No
sorry.
problem.
I thought I heard somebody else get on.
Favor.
Okay, all those opposed? Nothing? Abstain? Okay, motion passed by voice vote.
So can I say unanimous voice vote?
Yes, say unanimous voice vote. Okay, thank you. So it looks like we can move on to, are there any other tribal operation planning issues, questions? Willa?
Not planning, but I know a lot of tribal members are asking, so since we have staff available, I was wondering if we could give an update about per capitas this year?
yes, per capitas will be mailed out to all tribal members, 18 and over, on the week of, I don't have that in front,
I believe so.
the week of the 19th. So I know member benefits and finance are working together, uploading data, getting that all confirmed and ready to process. And then we'll be working as a team, getting those stuffed in envelopes and mailed out that week. We also want to, and I shared that with the secretary, that if you guys want to mail anything out, That's an opportunity to mail any type of notice that tribal council has. We can put that in there. So if you have anything, I would recommend that Monday I just don't have the date. Okay.
70.
Quote the wrong amount. I just didn't bring that. I didn't know. I know it's. Do you have that certification that we sent out?
Um,
7635?
I'm looking for her email.
Sure, we quote the right amount.
7622.
That's close. Okay. $76.22. No child support is being taken out for this year due to the surrounding circumstances of COVID-19.
Okay, good. Any other questions, comments? Willa?
Okay, I just wanted to give a quick update. I know a lot of tribal members have been asking about the relief payment program, and we are still working on that and hoping to have that proposed by Wednesday's regular tribal council meeting. So we are working on that, and that's what you've seen similar to what other tribes are doing. And again, that is separate from the emergency fund program. So we'll be given an update on Wednesday and know more how that's going to look.
Okay, great. Thank you. So it looks like if there's no other comments, questions, anything else in our comment section on our streaming, then we are done with this meeting. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Clay. Do I have a second?
Second, Brandy.
Second by Brandy. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, sounded pretty unanimous to me. All right, thank you, Kathy, again, and
Yep.
everybody that worked on this policy. And thank you to all those that watched on our streaming live today. So any other questions, go ahead and email or give us a call. Thank you.